There is no one leadership style or theory that can work in isolation, and no leader can align with one style to utilize in all situations. Therefore, it is imperative that today's leaders recognize and incorporate elements from various leadership styles to apply to unique situations and leadership positions. The success of our Indigenous student populations continues to absorb into a world of knowledge and a society that appear to have no place for them or their people. Our Aboriginal school leaders must begin to look at the bigger picture surrounding Aboriginal education. The ability of Aboriginal students to make the most of their educational opportunities depends in part on the health and well-being of their families and their. In recent years, Canada has recognized the consequences of Indian residential schools and its lasting and damaging effects on our Indigenous populations. The history of assimilation has had a profound impact on Indigenous nations at every level, from cultural identity and mental health to community cohesion and collective disempowerment. The experiences of Indian residential schools has affected the children and grandchildren of those who were emotionally, physically, and sexually abused, contributing to social problems that exist in too many of our communities today. These schools were supposed to be a solution to the Indian problem, and by the time the last residential school closed, more than 14,000 Aboriginal children had lost their language, their culture, and spirit, disrupting family ties and community involvement in child rearing. Little did these innocent victims and survivors of Canada's cultural genocide know that the transmission of risk was most likely to accumulate across generations, where second and third generations would suffer from mental health problems that can be very well attributed to the colonial violence inflicted on their ancestors. These experiences have devastating effects that have affected our youngest, our youth, our future leaders. Historical trauma has contributed to a nation where Indigenous youth are left with no clear direction and no sense of identity. Research proves that children with positive ethnic identity show improved psychological and social functioning, including higher self-esteem, stronger self-efficacy, higher school grades, and a greater sense of social competence. Using the school as a foundation to healing will contribute to the health and well-being of our Indigenous student population. As we move toward healing, reconciliation, and resolution, the legacy of Indian residential schools offers a unique opportunity to educate all Canadians about this piece of Canada's history. This is an opportunity to forge new relationships between our Indigenous populations and other Canadians, relationships built on trust and respect, acknowledging this shared history while building stronger community and cultural identity, but more importantly, an academically resilient Indigenous student population. Schools across Canada have now implemented the history of Indian residential schools into curriculum, and age-appropriate resources are becoming an integral part of everyday teaching. Our educators are provided the resources, training, and supports in preparation to teaching this piece of history to their students. How do we ensure that our Indigenous students are healing mind, body, and soul? Are we providing the appropriate teachings and supports to help our Indigenous youth reclaim self-identity? Aboriginal school leaders must make culture, language, and heritage a priority in reclaiming self-identity, but more importantly, preparing them for lifelong success. Rather than making standardized testing, literacy rates, or attendance a priority, how about we address the effects of ancestral victimization that has attributed to a psychological distress, increasing community dysfunction, and transgenerational impacts, which evidence proves increases risk of depression, anxiety, PTSD, and suicide. Who takes responsibility of our Indigenous student population, and which leaders should be held accountable for the success rates in the community? The answer is simple. Everyone who comes into contact with the individual should become a mentor, a teacher, a role model, a leader. It takes a community to raise a child, and it will take a community to heal the child. The history of Indian residential school has contributed to low self-esteem, mental health problems, difficulty parenting, family dysfunction, conflict, social problems, grief, anger, and helplessness. Using the school as a foundation to building a community within a community is the perfect opportunity to address the needs of our younger generations. It is the opportunity to stop the cycle of addiction and abuse. It is an opportunity to address the needs of intergenerational trauma by providing the teachings and healing supports while learning to embrace who they are and where they come from. Leadership is one of the most crucial factors in determining whether a school is effective or not. Successful school leaders analyze the organizational structure, policy, procedure, and practice in support of their vision. They change what is not accurately aligned, and they create a student-centered vision that incorporates the beliefs and values of the school's mission statement. These leaders are clearly focused on what students will encounter after they leave the school. So what type of school leader can improve school culture, behavior, teaching methods, and leadership? What type of school leader uses a holistic approach to healing our youth by forming relationships with outside organizations? Authentic leaders. There are so many great qualities of school leaders who improve schools in a variety of different ways, but there is one type of leader who will take all of these great qualities, taking holistic approaches to redesigning a school to suit the community's needs. Aboriginal school leaders need to believe that it takes time to improve a school, a leader that extends well beyond bottom-line success. Such leaders have a role to play in the greater society by tackling public policy issues and addressing organizational and societal problems. They are focused on restoring what was lost: basic confidence, hope, optimism, resiliency, and meaningfulness. Authentic leaders know who they are. They know what they believe in, and they act upon those values and beliefs while transparently interacting with others. LPAUL describes authentic leaders as those individuals who are deeply aware of how they think and behave and are perceived by others as being aware of their own and others' values, moral perspectives, knowledge, and strengths. They are aware of the context they operate. They are confident, hopeful, optimistic, resilient, and high on moral character. Authentic leaders are capable of building a community within a community, using the school as a foundation of healing while forging links with outside organizations. They will welcome our strongest leaders, our first teachers, our elders, who will in turn not only educate our youth, but our community leaders, our teachers, and our parents. They will invite outside organizations to help everyone understand that we can use our history to heal in the present. Recent developments in authentic leadership may prove the most promising, as authentic leaders may inspire their followers to act authentically in the workplace. It is best to recognize that authenticity exists on a continuum, and that the more people remain true to their core values, identities, preferences, and emotions, the more authentic they will become.
I remember the years they took all the children and they locked them away. There they taught them to pray. There were children each night who were quietly crying. They are in the walls and the halls of my mind. How many little souls that surely were dying, and they'll bury so deep all the shame that they keep. They will all be alone in their garden of Eden, alone in the walls and the halls of their mind. Oh, he cried to his father, please come help free me. Now he longs to be free of the wounds you can't see, and he tires of those demons that keep him from sleeping. Alone in the walls and the halls of his mind. He tries to be a father for his wife and his children, and he hides the pain drives him insane. And that voice each night still quietly crying somewhere in the walls and the halls of his mind. Now he's back 40 years to confront all his fears. Reaches down in that hole to the pain in his soul. Now he knows his child who's been quietly crying all alone in the walls and the halls of his mind. I remember the years you were the children, and they locked you away and taught you to pray. And your voices each night still quiet